Right, so first of all we're going to look at Spearman Rebel leaders, how to kill them best, why we'd want to kill them. They drop very good gear actually for spear formations, and spear formations are very meta, Imp Spear and Spear Cav especially. The likes of this for Imp Spear is amazing, stats are absolutely perfect for it, frontline Imp tankiness, and then Spear backline attack. Attack is the best stat in the game. We see the same with this, 25% spear attack at max is huge for either of them. This at gold is potentially even better than the Kingsguard boots for Spear Cav. It's arguable, might not be, but you can have that at gold and then the other two at blue and run that and it's amazing, the stats are perfect for it. And then this, obviously, the best free to play outside the Kingsguard one for a spear front. So much health. And there's also a Stoneway Clement, which I think drops that, and that. So that's good for bow trap builds, and also the training speed in this will always give value long term. And I think there's a day, this day, where you have to choose between that or building speed. And I think training speed is probably the best bet there, so you'll end up hitting these one day every 2 weeks. So it's worth knowing how to do the most damage to these rebels and what formations to run. Spears are kind of annoying to kill actually, they're a lot harder than infantry and cav it seems to get to certain kill thresholds, like one-shotting level 3s or two-shotting level 4s, four-shotting level 5s. They're up there with bows for how annoying they are to kill, to be honest. And there's a few reasons for that. I mean, they're spears, so the normal meta tanks you run into rebels is either Jean or Enzo, and obviously they get countered, both of them, against spears, so you can't really do that and you have to find another way around it. So that there's a few options. There's always a group of commanders that are good against a certain rebel type, and then you have to kind of test it with your own commander rarities and gear and buffs. Because for example, what works for someone might not work for you for a variation of reasons. One, it can be something as abstract as they might have more initial might on their mountain clan gear than you, which means they can get heals and buffs off quicker, and that might keep them alive, whereas your tank might die as a result of having a lower amount. So formations will never be one rule fits all. You can get a general idea, but you can't just copy someone else and have it be the best for your account in all situations. So there's a group of commanders that are good, and it depends what level you're hitting. Tyrion is, if you can manage to get him to survive, is probably the best free-to-play tank against Spearmen. Because of his active, he buffs so much attack, and if you can manage to get that on as many other infantry as possible, the attack from his active will then multiply by the counter bonus on Sonara, Arya, Barrett as well. So you'll get so much extra damage. It also lasts for 9 seconds, which is ages. So if you can get him to survive, he is very good. You might have to watch videos and see if he does and adjust. Like, you might have to put Egbert in to keep him alive, but then you might lose too much damage and it might not be worth it. And also, if he's not gold, it can be difficult. I know blue and purple can for sure tank freeze with Just Jean, but Just Jean against 4s I think needs gold. If he's not gold, he can die, and then it's problematic and you have to find something else. From my testing, against both 4s and 5s, if you have her, as especially against 5s actually, Marjorie is best as tank, just because she's tankier, she survives longer, and the might recovery on that third ability there, again it's the same concept where it gives so much damage to everyone else. Like, if the 3 allies that get buffed for the might is Sonara, Arya and Barrett, that was just so much more damage dealt. So she's another buffer you can use. If you're totally free to play and you're hitting like fours and trying to push to free hitting them, you could use Chris or something like that. Like a free-to-play formation such as this could work. But there are free support commanders in there, which can get awkward. Like you can run something like that maybe, and that could do a decent amount of damage. Some reports here from hitting them earlier. So here's with Tyrion tank and Just Jean, the free DPS infantry. It's like 55.57%. And then with gold lats instead, did slightly more actually, so a potential paid option that's a bit better than gold Tyrion as tank. And then Marjorie, like she tests above both by a fairly significant amount. There is obviously some RNG that comes into this, especially with Arya, because of crit variance. So your reports from report to report will vary a bit. It won't always be the same amount of damage, but it doesn't necessarily matter. Your main focus of this is just getting it to a kill threshold, basically. So if you want a 2-shot, you want it above 50% on the first hit, and then it will die in 2 hits, and then you can hit 4s each time like that. Going for a level 3, you need it to 100%, and that can be more difficult. You need to squeeze more DPS out. Obviously, you won't need these 2 support commanders, so you can maybe swap some stuff around there. Or you can run a more damage-heavy tank. And there's a bit more testing there. You can see the variance from it dropping with the next Marjorie on, but I swap out Lats for Arya, and then Lats for Barrett. So Arya in over Barrett there actually tested a bit more damage. I mean, you want both all the time, so it doesn't really matter. There's both in again. And then 5s. You can see here, I'll go into the film. This is what you'll have to do a lot with watching Rebels. Is if you get a significantly lower amount of damage than you expected, you'll have to watch the film and see what went wrong, basically. So what you'll see here is, I haven't even watched this, but I know Marjorie is going to die, otherwise the damage wouldn't be that low. See, your health dropped so low there. I mean, 5s hit very, very hard. It's hard to keep your tank alive the whole time. It was so close there, like that could have easily been a death. And then this could have been even worse, and you'll see variance because of that. You'll have even worse hits, so she dies there at like 18 seconds. That's really bad. So what I did here is I swapped a damage dealer out for Egbert for just a bit more survivability. And you're losing some damage through that, but just by keeping the tank alive, you'll do more damage because a dead commander does no damage. Doesn't matter what commander it is. Keeping everyone alive is more important. So we drop Arya here for Egbert. And now Marjorie's seeming much healthier, much safer. She's always got shields on her. So this is what you have to do, especially with 5s, if you go for them. I mean, if you can 2-shot 4s, I'm not sure it's really worth it personally, especially with Greenbloods because of how annoying they are to kill. I'd just stick with 2-shotting 4s and 1-shotting 3s if you can do that. And obviously Marjorie is very pay to win, and she's in a lot of these formations I'm testing, so you will have to play around with other tanks. Personally, if you have gold Tyrion, stick with him with 3s and 4s. If you don't, you'll have to play around with Chris probably and just accept lower damage. You might have to settle for 3-shotting 4s or 5-shotting 5s in that situation. In terms of other options for free to play, you'll have to swap in the the bowman damage dealers, probably, because you just won't have the counters. Like, even with the counter bonuses, something like Sheila or Soren, especially Awakened, will do more damage than something like Haley, just because all their abilities are tanky, whereas these are offensive abilities. If you have Theon, you want to run him in every formation. His active is so ridiculous, especially over a 45-second fight. You can have him for free from the Dice event. Even at Grey, he's amazing, so I'd always try and fit him in. But as a staple recommended formation, I would recommend something like this, or something like that, if you have her. That is what I would go for the majority of level 4 or 3 Spearman Rebel leaders.